Hi guys, welcome to Vote Sports. Today let's talk about Chelsea. They lost that game 2 goals to nil against Manchester City. After spending £2 billion, Chelsea is yet to find their pace and find their game. I don't know if it's from the club or it's from the coach or the players, but something is wrong with Chelsea. So we are going to analyzing Chelsea again for this particular talk. Losing 2-0 against Manchester City, it was, even though Manchester City is a big team, but they didn't play pretty well the way people want them to play after spending all that money. People are expecting them to, once they are spending this money, so that they can have a great team to challenge the league. But I'm going to talk with my guys now to know if they are doing the right thing, if they still need a striker or they still need to buy more. Okay guys, if you look at this Chelsea team, they lost 2-0 in the weekend, but generally Chelsea has probably, I won't call it a problem, but let's say they have a challenge. Maresca has a big job on his hand because they are trying to force out some players like Sterling, like Chilwell. They are the top earners. They are trying to force them out. They are bringing a whole lot of young stars. But all these investments, all these are still not showing on the pitch. Now, what do you think that Chelsea needs to do? Or Maresca, is it Maresca need to do something, or Chelsea board need to do something, John?
For me, I think it has to be from the board, not Enzo Maresca, because at the end of the day, Enzo Maresca just took this job not too long ago. So he didn't have, let me say, the time to sit down and look at the team Chelsea have, who needs to go, who needs to stay. I felt when the board took the decision to fire Mauricio Pochettino, they should have sat down with the other management or backroom staff and then look at the squad and say, this guy you are going. So as the season is ending, Raheem Sterling, thank you for your service, thank you for all you've done. We are moving forward without you. Ben Chilwell, thank you for your service. We are moving forward without you. You cut these players off, or at least if you're not going to do that before Maresca is going to come in, as soon as Maresca came in, you have this conversation. You let the players know, look at what is it. This is football. Everybody out there is a professional footballer. They know what it entails to be at Chelsea or to be beyond your celebration moment at Chelsea. It's time for you to move on. You have this conversation. You don't need to take these players with you for the preseason break, and everybody goes their separate ways. But right now, they haven't taken this decision on time, and the man has 46 players to deal with. Even if it's Pep Guardiola, you don't know who you will start. You won't know who you will play. It's crazy.
Now he's talking about the number of players Chelsea has. They have about 46. This minus people that have went on loan. No. They have a whole lot of squad. Now Maresca is confused. Look at the game on the weekend. Now, he didn't play Mudryk. He didn't put in Sterling at all in his matchday squad. Chilwell is out. So he has about 46 players. As a coach, how do you manage this? I won't call it crisis, but how do you manage these challenges? Because having first team players, at least 30 plus first team players for just 11 spots, some people might be happy, some players might be happy, some will be sad, they will not play well, and they are not even sure if you play this week, if you are going to play next week. So how will Maresca manage this whole situation at Chelsea?
Well, I think one thing is to get into competitions, you need squad depth, and you need adequate, not just squad depth, you need adequate squad depth. And for Chelsea now, I don't see them having that adequate. They have squad depth, but not adequate squad depth. They don't have the adequacy to put replacements on the pitch. And Sterling leaving, I think, is the right time for him to leave the club. The coach now brought in someone who could play in that position for himself. He saw someone who could play in Dewsbury Hall, and he says, I want this player to come with me all the way from Leicester City to Chelsea, and that's a good addition for him, bringing a player he's worked with before into a new side to see if that player could steady hold on to a position for him. And to other players in that side, you look at the way they play. I think against Man City, they played a 3 defensive-minded midfield, and they shifted Cole Palmer to the flanks to play from the flanks, which was a terrible idea, but it kind of worked out to some extent where they had to hold on to Man City in the midfield and kind of defended well and gave a performance on the pitch. But outside this performance on the pitch, you needed results going forward, and I think they lacked that in the final third. We saw Pedroneto running head-to-head, not knowing when to pass the ball, not knowing when to drive. In the second half, we saw Louis Dewsbury Hall taking on defenders and yet not finding the final pass, which is what they've lacked all through Pochettino's time at Chelsea, lacking the final pass into the final third. And I think that's the only thing Cole Palmer brings to the team, and he's the only one if I'm being stood right now, he's the only one who brings that side of the game to the game. But for Chelsea as a whole, you need other players to step up. And for stepping up, I mean, you came in about 2 months ago in June or perhaps in July. It was enough time to tell Ben Chilwell to leave, but you
That's
didn't.
what I want. That's just crazy.
You didn't let him go in that period. Now this is August, 2 weeks to the transfer market to end, and you're telling him you want him to go.
You want Sterling to go too.
Now, how do you get that? How do you make that possible? Because you should have told the board between June 31st and July 30th that these players can't be in your plans. That's why I needed Pedro Neto. That's why I needed some other players to be in the side. And you say, okay, fine, maybe this year they're not going to be there. Ugochukwu might not be there this year, and he's been sent off on loan already. But July was the time you should have told these players. Or immediately they were announcing you as the coach. You have a meeting with every last one of your players and tell the ones you want to stay. You tell the ones you don't need to stay to be finding the next club. But they didn't do that.
If I'm looking at it in general, I'll stay with you now. So if you look at it, I think that it's more of the board decision than Maresca's decision. Because if Maresca has actually valued, but look at the squad, and he didn't say anything about Sterling. He did, because Sterling was saying that he came back about a week or 2 weeks, even before they should be back. He started training ahead of the new season. So Maresca liked it. Do you know, Ben Chilwell, he didn't say anything about Ben Chilwell until probably last week. So do you think that, I think they are forcing Maresca, because you know the owner will not come to the media and say, I don't want Sterling in my club. They have to tell the coach, you have to go. If you look at Neto, suddenly they just bought Neto. It was rumored to Neto is coming. Suddenly Neto has signed.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So I think since they took over, they've been buying players. This is what they did with Pochettino. They bought in almost all the players before they bought in Pochettino. No. So the owner, are they doing it right?
Most of those players they brought in before Pochettino was signed during Graham Potter's era. Pochettino's season, I think, was the only addition during Pochettino's time at Chelsea was about Cole Palmer and one other player. You understand? Other players were brought in before Pochettino, which
Jackson came in too.
During Pochettino's time, which tells you that these players were brought in by the former coach. They brought in these players thinking they would build a team for the future, and they just need a coach to come in and make this team work. So for Chelsea now, I don't think now the addition of players and the subtraction of players now depends on the coach's style of play. He, like you said, Sterling resumed training early because he wasn't called up to the English squad for the Euro 2024. Now, that's a prompt for him to start training early. He started training early, but he didn't give the result they needed in the preseason games. It's not about starting training early. It's about me now as a coach. I want to play this style. And this player played 3-4 preseason games with me, and yet did not give me the performance I needed.
Yeah, I think you are not trying to side the owners, because if you look at it, the preseason ended last week.
Yes.
You didn't tell him until he found out that he's not going to be in the squad. Probably the day. You are not saying.
I'm just saying the coach himself now should have told him this after 2 games in preseason.
So that's what I'm saying. Probably didn't tell him anything because probably he liked the way Sterling played. But if you look at it, Sterling ain't one of the top 3 earners at Chelsea. Yeah. Chelsea is they have a whole lot of squad. They're trying to reduce the squad. Okay, John, but generally now, Chelsea, do they need to still buy? You remember they are still talking with Joao Felix to bring him. They're trying to work out with Connor and Felix deal. They're trying to balance this whole thing. Now you have an Osimhen on the other side of Italy that they need to probably buy. And they still have a Lukaku in their team they need to offload. So Chelsea has a major challenge. They have only about a week plus to deal with these matters. Now, the question is that do Chelsea need to buy again? Probably buy Osimhen and Joao Felix in that team.
Straight up, I'll give you a clear answer. They need to buy, because if you look at the persons who are going to lead the line for Chelsea this season, you only have Nicolas Jackson, and as someone, and Gui is how old? 18, 19?
He came on yesterday.
Gui is a young lad, and you cannot put the whole burden of Chelsea on that young man's shoulder. He may not be able to carry it. So Gui is someone you buy for the future, you ease into the team, in my perspective, okay? So the only person you have to lead the line for Chelsea up front is Nico Jackson. And we all know that Nico Jackson's conversion rate for goals is you give him 50 passes, he gives you 9 goals. And throws away the remaining. So you can't bank on Nico Jackson, which is why Chelsea are in the market to sign Joao Felix in the first place, and are also in the market to sign Victor Osimhen. Now, where Chelsea have got it all wrong is that these decisions should have been taken last season, but they are now taking it on the last 2 weeks before the transfer market is over. They are looking to take off £1 million off the wage bill, 335 to Lukaku, another 335 to Sterling, 200 to Chilwell. So they're looking to knock all of this, apart from the Chaloba that is on his way out and a couple of other players, to Gallagher to off the wage bill. That's £1.5 million off the wage bill. The question is, you are still going to replace this 1.5 million wage bill by Joao Felix and Osimhen. So there's no structure, there's no plan. It's just a ragtag movement from Chelsea right now.
So if let's assume now they bring in Joao Felix and bring in probably Osimhen. Now they have a whole lot of attackers. Remember, they have Neto, they have Mudryk that didn't even play. I was surprised that he didn't even play. They have a Mudryk that did not play. Now, if you bring this player, won't it cause more confusion in Chelsea camp? Is it going to solve more problem or bring more confusion
I will say this in accordance to positioning. In the midfield, Joao Felix could play there in competition with Cole Palmer. He could play from the left as well. He could play as a striker. Osimhen can play as a top 9, not other than a top 9.
Just 9. Everybody knows
now,
that.
Noni Madueke can play from the right, which means he has competition with Pedro Neto. Now you see that in the right side you have Pedro Neto to compete with Madueke. On the left you have a Joao Felix, a Mudryk, and this guy that Louis Desbry Hall from the last game. Now these are 3 players that are credible from the left. And what's it called? Now that's much competition from the left side, and it's okay that way. Kopama and Joao Felix can also compete in this position. Aside that, no other person comes in that place. Then behind him, you have a Lavia, Enzo Fernandez, and what's it called? And Caicedo. Now this is credible replacement for each person, but I don't see yesterday's game or perhaps last night's game was one of the worst decision making ever, where you play 3 defensive midfielders in one game. I don't see it anywhere. You don't play 3 defensive midfielders, 3 defensive-minded midfielders in one game. The only player that does it is West Ham United when they played Declan Rice and and Sunchek and maybe one other defensive midfielder. But yeah, they still try to put in an attacking midfielder in that mix. So if you're not going to be packing the box, you don't need to play 3 defensive midfielders. You need to be playing an attacking.
Okay. Now you listed these positions.
Yeah.
From the attack. Joao Felix can play from the midfield and all that.
Yes.
Now the question is that who plays? Because it's only 11 players that is good. Okay, let's take their 4 attack.
Yeah.
You mentioned Neto. Okay,
let's use this scenario now.
What I'm saying is that
Osimhen is starting.
Okay, if Osimhen comes, he will start.
Yes, if he's starting, then there's Pedro Neto on the right. There's Louis Desbry Hall on the left.
Hold on now. You just call 3 attackers. Probably Palmer have to play because Palmer has
in
to
the
play.
middle.
Now,
behind
the bench, you have Madueke, you have a Modric, you have Jackson, you have Gui, you have Neto. All right.
Okay. Move Gui out of the list.
No. These are first team players.
Yes. Move Gui out of the list.
If you list all these players, now you have about 5 or 6 first team attackers that don't start, and whenever probably you are playing a game, probably you have to introduce only 1 or 2. So each match day, we are not talking about Sterling that is still there.
Yeah.
Each match day, 4 players, first team player in the attack will play every game. And you don't keep changing your attack. Probably have your first 3. So what I'm saying,
but you make substitutions.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think that it will cause more harm to Chelsea to having a whole first team? For example, if you look at Manchester City, you have their bench. If you want to play an attacking football, you probably introduce 2 or 3 players in that attack and it's over. If you look at Arsenal, they probably play Jesus, Nelson. So everybody knows probably you have one competition ahead of you.
Yeah.
But now you have about
4.
3 or 1 position, have about
makes
2 or
you
3.
sit up.
I disagree.
Now look at it. When I say makes you sit up, look at it this way. In Real Madrid, you have front 3. Now, currently, front 3 now.
Who is on the bench on this front 3? Apart from this front 3, just check it.
Now in Real Madrid, I will do my homework on that, but I have two players on the bench, top of my head. There's a Brahim Diaz and a Lucas Vasquez.
Okay, let's give you an example now. Now you have only two players.
Just
There,
two
and-
as against eight at Chelsea.
Wait.
And there's an Andagula who can play in that position.
No, Andagula plays for
there-
the midfield.
now, there are many players in that position that I can't mention because Real Madrid we only keep straight up with.
No, what I'm
Premier
saying
League,
is that if you look at, you mentioned Real Madrid now.
Yes.
If you look at Real Madrid, you look at the attack, just three attackers. Other players are not really there. They know that when you are in a team, you know that you cannot bench Mbappe. So
Sure.
you don't bother yourself about that.
Let me give
competition-
you the reserves
competition
on the bench.
I'm sorry, the competition there is minimal. But if you look at Chelsea, there is no difference between Modric and Neto. They're almost the same.
They are
thing.
the same pair.
So you know that you are fighting against this person. So what I'm saying that having all these players and the window is about 2 weeks to go. Yes or no answer. Do you think it will cause more confusion than it will solve the problem for
It's
Chelsea?
like straight up, it will give the coach more selection headache. Yes.
What do you think?
For me, I think it's a big problem. We were just talking about Real Madrid some time back. Sorry to put you back. On the bench, you have Gula, Diaz, and Endrick. Simple. The
There are
front
more.
three
There
are
are
the
more.
front
Vasquez
three.
now plays as a
The
right back
front
now.
three are
So-
the front three. So Vasquez is out or he's not even nearing that midfield. So you just have these three guys. At Chelsea, you have like 7 or 8. And it's crazy because you don't know who to call on. You don't know who is in the right mind frame. First and foremost, you play 2 matches. None he doesn't play or doesn't start. You don't know the
gets
mind.
angry.
You don't know the mind frame is going to be in when you call him up. You don't know if he's going to even want to put on a performance for you. So as a manager, you're always working on eggshells around your own players, and it's not a good environment for the team.
They need to sell.
They need to sell, and they need to sell and sell smartly because these guys are on 8-year, 7-year deals, and nobody is coming for 120 million to buy a Mudryk. So you know you need to just cut your losses at some point and just move the team forward because it's going to be a nightmare for Enzo Maresca looking at who is going to pick. I saw that lineup yesterday playing Parmadan there. I was just like, what is this man doing? Play Enzo and Lavia or Lavia and Caicedo, bench Fernandes. But of course, you won't bench the golden boy. So it is what it is.
Well, Chelsea they have a whole challenge on their hand. Maresca has a whole problem. His problem is even bigger than, I won't say it's bigger than Nigerian's problem, but I think he has the biggest problem in world football now. How he's going to manage all these players? He has about 40 first team players. You have only 11 spots, probably 5 substitutes. So in total, you have about maybe 16 players to play each match day squad. But he has over 40 players that he's managing. How is he going to solve players? They are still talking about bringing in Joao Felix and Osimhen in that team that is still jam-packed and there is no outgoing as of today. Now let's see what Chelsea is going to be doing. Chelsea fans are very angry about how they are playing now, but they are looking for solution. They are still looking for a striker. Probably let's see what happens with Osimhen and Lukaku this week, and let's see if Chelsea is going to improve. See you guys next time.